Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg with Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, joined by associate producer Brandon Joe. He's going to jump in, does some co-hosting when he is available. He's also the founder and CEO of Treasure Hacks. He's a young entrepreneur. He'll be entering his junior year at UC San Diego. Always good day when we have the Alzheimer's Association San Diego Imperial Chapter in, joined by Jason Spark, a board member. How you doing, Jason?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Of course, it's great. You guys have some wonderful content, and it's especially a big pleasure when we have the president and CEO of Mission Fed Credit Union in the studio with us today, Doug Wright. He's been involved with certainly Mission Fed for quite a while now. Now he's in the catbird seat. How are you enjoying your CEO role?
Well, 4 months into it, I think it's going pretty well, although you probably need to ask our employees and members because they're the ones who really would see the transition more so than I can really reflect on it. But so far, I think it's gone really well. We have a fantastic team, which makes my job and life a whole lot easier. So I really rely on the team to carry our mission forward.
Yeah, and they do, and we work with them very closely, and they certainly love the great transition between Deborah Schwartz and you on this. We'll start with you, Jason. Talk a little bit about the mission of the Alzheimer's Association.
Yeah, sure. So simply put, the mission of the Alzheimer's Association is to end Alzheimer's and all other dementias. We do this three ways. First, it's increasing education and awareness for diagnosis and early detection of Alzheimer's. Second, it's accelerating research, using those funds that were raised to accelerate the research towards a cure for Alzheimer's. And third, it's providing resources and support for those with Alzheimer's and especially the caregivers with Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah, we know this is growing because we're aging, right? And that's one of the things that happens when you get older in this area of it. And I don't know of a person, we speak personally, that doesn't have some type of a personal contact with someone that is involved with Alzheimer's. And you do too, correct?
I do. You know what? It's just some of the numbers in San Diego, 60,000 people in San Diego with Alzheimer's disease, San Diego alone, right? 160,000 caregivers, family members that are touched, that are working directly with somebody with Alzheimer's disease. But yeah, my life's been touched by it as well.
One thing you brought up before I turn it over to Brandon, and we talk about this all the time when we have the Alzheimer's Association on, and we're sort of proud about it. When we did this at the Union Tribune, we started a website, a part of the Union Tribune, on caregivers in San Diego. There's 600,000 caregivers in San Diego County. 300,000 of them look like us, that all of a sudden now we're a caregiver because we're taking care of folks, whatever the issue may be, but a lot of it Alzheimer's. Talk about how do you train people? All of a sudden they were doing X and then tomorrow they're a caregiver.
Well, that's right. And that's how I got involved. I saw this firsthand with my mother, who took care of my grandmother, my abuelita, who was suffering from Alzheimer's. And she was launched into this, right? There's no training. There's no background for that. I wish at the time that I was aware of what the Alzheimer's Association was providing for those, caregivers, right? In terms of the helpline and an endless number of resources, right? That I think have really helped make that job a lot easier.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Brendan?
Yeah, I see here that June is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, and I'm just a little curious on what exactly we can do or the association would like to inform with this awareness, other than the fact that it exists. Because as Drew mentioned, each one of us knows somebody. And even recently for me, I've learned that my grandmother is starting to see that. And I'm wondering what we can do as, I guess, friends and family of these individuals to assist them with this.
One, I think it's just what you're doing is get them involved, share the information with them. The helpline with the Alzheimer's Association is a great resource. They connect you first with an agent, and then they connect you with the right people. And these are people that are trained to do this. A lot of them are touched by it. We're caregivers at one point, and that's what's really interesting about it is they've been through this before, and they can help people through those situations. So I'd encourage that. But it is June. It's Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. A lot going on this month. You see some of the buildings around town illuminated in purple, for going purple for Alzheimer's awareness. It's one of our biggest campaigns this year. If you want to get involved in fundraising, there are a lot of different fundraisers that are taking place on, you can connect through our website. A lot of people are starting their own fundraisers. They're doing garden tours and raising money that way. They're, playing pickleball. I'm throwing a golf tournament. People are going on hikes. Very simple ways to get involved, and it's just community. You get involved with other members that are going through this in a similar situation. It's helpful. It's cathartic. It's information exchange, and it's helping people get through this.
Definitely, because it's a sharing. I mean, it's almost. This is a little off kilter, but like similar to like parenting, you're just kind of thrown into it. There's no training. There's no nothing. It happens at a heartbeat, and it's so incredible what it can do, or not. Incredible is too positive a word, but saddening what it can do to a family as a member is affected, and everyone realizes that it's not going to get better from here. So I wonder, what is the initial reaction that you should have, and how do you sort of ease yourself into this reality?
Yeah, well, I'll tell a personal story, and this is with, again, going back to my abuelita, but to your point. So, I was not as surprised by the impact and the devastation of Alzheimer's on my abuelita. I was shocked and unprepared for the impact on my family, right? And the caregivers around them. And, it broke what was a tight family. It broke them apart. And I'll say it does get better. That's the positive news, but it broke a tight family apart, and they don't know how to make these tough decisions. Financial impact. Look, where should my grandmother live? How much care do they need? Who should be taking care of them? These are tough decisions, and if you aren't trained, you need some help. You need people that have been through that before. You need the Alzheimer's Association to help you out too.
Well, and you're right. Almost to the point you're making, Brandon, is that all of a sudden this thing can happen, very, very quickly. We're chatting with our friends from the Alzheimer's Association San Diego Imperial Chapter, Jason Spark, who is the board member of the association, joined by Doug Wright, president and CEO of Mission Fed Credit Union. We're going to chat with Doug in a few seconds about Mission Fed's involvement with Alzheimer's Association and this June Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We're the nation's longest running community podcast, now in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades. They've been doing just so many wonderful things in San Diego County. You pick a topic, they're involved, whether it's food insecurity, whether it's literacy, whether it's Alzheimer's, whether it's pride, they're involved shoulder to shoulder. And what the great thing about Mission Fed Credit Union, and I'll just turn this over to Doug, and you and I have talked about this for about the zillion times you've been on my show. You don't do checkbook philanthropy, which you guys, sure, you donate, and it helps money turns on lights and all that. You guys have the full force of your workforce that gets involved in these things. Talk about how important that is.
Yeah, absolutely. We have been involved with Alzheimer's Association for quite a long time, and we recently reaffirmed, actually 3 years ago, reaffirmed that support. And we reached out to our employees and asked them, what are the types of things that we should really support in the community? And loud and clear, the very highest thing that our employees told us was the impact of Alzheimer's. And as we've been talking about, the impact goes far beyond those who are devastated themselves by this disease to all of the family members that are also impacted by the disease. And many of our employees have been touched and impacted by the disease, most of them as caregivers or others who are supporting caregivers in that respect. And so it was really important for us then to we affirmed the commitment and increased the commitment at that point in time. So not only certainly do we increased our donations directly to the Alzheimer's Association, but we really got involved, particularly in the month of June, which is the Brain and Alzheimer's Awareness Month. And so we have material in our branches. We're doing lunch and learns with our staff. We're doing additional educational opportunities. We have people who are doing things or who did things yesterday with the longest day awards or celebration and so on. So really kind of a full involvement from our staff and our people in terms of providing awareness, donating money, contributing to the cause, and really making people aware of what's happening.
Right. Yeah, I think what's really important about that aspect of it, I think you touched base on this a little bit, Jason. All of a sudden, okay, you're now taking care of whether it's your grandmother or whatever the case may be. But last I checked, I do have a full-time job that I have to be doing. Okay. Okay. That doesn't stop. Hopefully my employer will give me a little bit of a break as I try to get my feet on the ground in this aspect of it. That is just such a critical component. And like you were saying, Jason, you're not trained to do this thing. We come back from break. I want to talk more about those things. The services. You hit on something we talk about all the time on our Spotlight show. It's not just the person who has the issue, whether it's mental health or it's Alzheimer's or it's cancer. It's the family and the tentacles with it that is so important as well. And then I want to save some time for the June 11 breakfast, business breakfast, talk about that as well. And as Doug Wells knows on this, Jason, that we always save time in the second half to find out what our listeners can do to support your efforts. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
That's what we're going to do when we get back with the Alzheimer's Association San Diego Imperial Chapter. Jason Spark, a board member, joined by Doug Wright, President and CEO of Mission Fed Credit Union. I'm Drew Schlosberg. Listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, joined by our associate producer, Brandon Joe. And we'll be right back after this break.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of the Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for more than 60 years, continuing to do great things for people living in San Diego County. Honored to have in the studio with us today our friends from the Alzheimer's Association, San Diego Imperial Chapter, Jason Spark, a board member, joined by Doug Wright, President and CEO of Mission Fed Credit Union. They are shoulder to shoulder with the Alzheimer's Association and have been with that for many, many years, joined by my associate producer, Brandon Joe. He's also the founder and CEO of Treasure Hacks. And Brandon will be an incoming junior at UCSD. Brandon, got a question?
Yeah. So as Drew mentioned, and he messed up a little on the date, July 11th.
What did I say?
You said June 11th.
Oh,
I would have passed.
Yeah, that's right. It's already happened. No, it's July 11th. But thank you for correcting me.
The business breakfast. Tell me a little bit more about this.
Yeah, so we're going to be hosting a business breakfast. We're bringing together community leaders, business leaders in San Diego to share their experiences about working with Alzheimer's, the Alzheimer's Association, about the impact that Alzheimer's disease has on their workforce. And this is something that doesn't get talked about enough. Where, I mentioned in the prior segment, 160,000 people in San Diego are touched by somebody with this disease. They're not trained for it. This is impacting productivity in the workplace, right? People have to leave early to go take care of that loved one. They have to make up for it working late the next day, to catch up. Right, that the dollar amount that you put on that is it's a large number, right? It's tough to think about. So one of the best things that we can do as business leaders in San Diego is help our workforce prepare for that, and also understand what our workforce might be going through. And that's what this business breakfast is about: inviting those leaders to come by and learn more about Alzheimer's disease and how it's impacting their staff.
And just a little curious, but for the actual businesses themselves, other than like being broadly like flexible, what can they actionably do in the businesses to implement things that can support these individuals?
I think a few things. There's just awareness and education about some of the signs and signals of Alzheimer's disease and progression. Others are where to go for support and help. Right. How to have conversations internally, right? With your team, with your family, with your coworkers if necessary, with your HR teams and managers. But I think education, awareness, it starts there, and then surrounding those people with the right support mechanisms. Because there are people that have gone through it and are going, and that's half of it right there. It's just surrounding yourself with people that can give you good advice that are actually going through this too.
Doug, has Alzheimer's impacted your family at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Very directly. Both my mother and father suffered from Alzheimer's.
Is that right?
Yes. And so my mother was the caretaker for my father. And then when my father passed away, unfortunately, then my mother soon thereafter ended up with Alzheimer's. So fortunately, we had the flexibility in our family to be able to manage that. But many families don't have that kind of flexibility. So it becomes a really difficult choice of, do I leave the workforce? Do I try to adjust my work to be able to manage the caretaking? And that creates stresses both on the employee as well as the employer in that respect. So there is a really challenging, and unfortunately, it's often a very long-term aspect. So it's not like a critical care where it's a 3-month project or it's a 2-month or a 6-month illness or those types of things, and then people can recover. This often hangs on for years and years, and so it has a longer term impact. And so it's really critical that people get the awareness and the education and the support that they need to be able to manage, not just for the today and the tomorrow, but maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, maybe 2-3 years down the road. So that's what's really challenging about this particular disease and set of disorders, is that it lasts a long time and it gets progressively worse. It's not one of those things that gets worse and then gets better either.
Right.
So,
yeah. Let me ask you this. Do you work closely with, we have so many wonderful, biomed companies, certainly in San Diego, treasure trove of them. Do you work closely with them? I know people are working to find cures for Alzheimer's or how they can arrest it and stuff. Yeah. How closely do you work with groups like that?
Well, in my day job, I work in with a number of biomedical research companies in San Diego and nationally. That's one of the exciting areas of what I do.
Right.
Get to see be on the cutting edge of science and where that's going. So we are in a hotbed here in San Diego. It's a fantastic place to be for scientific research and for Alzheimer's research.
Are we making progress?
We are.
Okay.
We call it the treatment era.
Okay.
Right.
And maybe you can just give a nickel tour of what that is.
Yeah, the treatment area. So in the past couple of years, we're seeing new treatments, new drugs that have been approved that are actually designed. They're intended to target the underlying cause of the disease. Up until this point, the drugs were just targeting symptoms.
Right.
Now they're targeting the underlying cause of the disease. It's a stepping stone. It's not the end all. We have a long way to go, but it's a huge step. This is how progress is made.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to follow up on that on another edition of the Spotlight Show in this area. Doug, we talked about this quite a bit. Mission Fed, very proud of its work in so many different areas, Alzheimer's being one of them. But it just happens to be in the DNA of Mission Fed just to give. Talk about how critical that is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Our core mission for the last 61 years has really been uplifting San Diego. We are a not-for-profit organization, so we basically take the money we earn and push it right back into our members and right back into making San Diego a healthier, more vibrant, more and stronger place to live. And a good part of that is supporting and partnering with really critical organizations, nonprofit organizations, and other organizations in the community who have the same mindset and who are focused on uplifting San Diego. And this is Alzheimer's is a perfect example of what we do and why we do it and how it's creating progress. Because I think there's a lot more research, there's a lot more advocacy, there's a lot more awareness of the challenges of Alzheimer's out there. And what's really positive, in addition to the work that's being done in terms of education and support, is exactly what Jason just talked about. We are moving to a point in time where there are real solutions, probably in the relatively near future, for treatment and hopefully for a cure. And that's where I think Treasury does become important again. So businesses can certainly support through education, advocacy, and those types of things. But Treasury is important in this case because it funds the research that gets us close to that goal.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that. As people may or may not know, my father was a medical doctor and taught medicine at UCLA. And we know research is not inexpensive. But the benefits of research when they solve something and they find is life-changing for many generations to come. And it looks like the good news is you're the person that is on top of this, Jason, that we're soon to see some great horizons on this with Alzheimer's. What can we do? What can our Spotlight and community listeners do to support your efforts, Jason?
Well, first, just be willing to share your story like we are here today, right? That's the more we share the stories, the more we connect with people and raise awareness about this disease and get involved with Alzheimer's Association. We'd love to, have participation in any one of hundreds of different fundraisers that we're doing through the Longest Day campaign.
Right.
So check that out, and come be a part of it. Or as business leaders, invite Alzheimer's Association to come and provide these turnkey webinars or lunch and learns. To get more information about Alzheimer's disease. They're really fantastic, that businesses can do.
And how do people sign up for the July 11 business breakfast?
Tune into our website, alz.org/San Diego, alz.org/San Diego.
And where's that going to be?
At Qualcomm.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And Doug will be there too. So, Mission Federal has been a fantastic supporter, as you've heard, for the Alzheimer's Association. And I'll be emceeing that event and moderating it. And Doug will be one of our business leaders that'll be talking about that at the business breakfast.
I think that's great. Doug, any final comments?
No, just, if you can, get out to the July 11th panel, and I think it'll be great information for business leaders out there. And if that doesn't work for you, certainly find other ways to support the Alzheimer's Association because it is a really critical aspect of improving our society and improving San Diego.
Yeah, well, Jason, would love to have you come back on, talk about life sciences and so forth, some on that aspect of it, what people are working on the cure on it. And I would love to do this. We'll work with your buddy, Eric Thompson, on maybe bringing in a family that has benefited from what the Alzheimer's Association has done. This is how it's changed their course since they've been able to learn more about how to do it, how to be a caregiver. Let's make that happen as well.
I'd be glad to.
Consider that done. Jason Spark, board member of the Alzheimer's Association San Diego Imperial Chapter, my good friend and colleague, Doug Wright, President and CEO of Mission Fed Credit Union. Thank you very much, Associate Producer Brandon Joe, for jumping in on this, another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 18th year, brought to you by the good folk of Mission Fed Credit Union, 60-plus years of continuing to do great things for people living in San Diego County. We hope you enjoyed the show.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.